Welcome to Samutsari, Conversations with Mimi, a weekly podcast by Social, also a member of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Samutsari is where we can show that ordinary people do extraordinary things. Tune in to be entertained and to learn something new with your host, Mimi Lorilla.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my show, Samutsari, Conversations with Mimi. And today we'll be talking about the experiences of a very brave woman in the field of, in her field of specialty and in her personal life. So before I officially begin to ask the questions, I'd like to introduce a good friend of mine for many, many years here in Melbourne. And the one and the only Miss Carol Dado Nieto. Carol, how are you? And welcome to the show.
Hello, Mimi. Thank you for having me.
And Carol, I'm also new to podcasting, so don't think that this is super expert kind of show. But the purpose of the show is to really as a podcast, it features hot topics and other topics of interest for women and, of course, men alike. And my other goal here in the show is to share my guests' passion and commitment to their profession or talents or whatever is currently going on in their lives. And like I said, here at Samutsari, we share stories to inspire the audience, stories from ordinary people that do extraordinary things. I'm a member of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate based in the Philippines and here in Australia. And apparently the audience members of the podcast syndicate are Filipinos living abroad. So we qualify as those Filipinos living abroad. But if you have friends all over the world, not just here in Australia and Philippines, let's share the love and tell them about our podcast so we can get more viewers and listeners alike. Okay, so I want to get started, Carol. We've kind of talked a little bit about your profession, and I'm really intrigued by this. You are an architect and an interior and planning design specialist. Can you tell me a little bit about your educational background and how you have decided to become this male-dominated? Why did you want
industry?
Male-dominated industry? So give us the little story about that, and then we'll keep more questions coming along.
Well, from the beginning, when I decided to take this course, it was my dad little bit kind of shocked about it because he knows that it's a men's industry and all. But I really love architecture ever since. Though my friends doesn't know, some of my family wouldn't know because I'm type of person you just wanted to be alone most of the time and explore things by reading lots of books and going to the libraries and all, and that interests me. Actually, the basis of my interest was history.
Okay.
And in architecture, going in places by looking all the architectural buildings, and you would know what happened in the history of this certain place. So that intrigues me a lot, and looking all sort of things like European architecture, Asian architecture, and also those things interested me because you see all the evidence of the histories through architecture. So I took that course, although the course is very expensive. My dad is kind of like nervous about that kind of course that I wanted to take because it's really expensive and it's really not that easy to take. So I went to that path regardless of our financial status. And during that time, I study and work at the same time just to get myself, makaano man lang ako ng anything na maitutulong ko sa magulang ko.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not that easy financially to so during that time I would work. Sometimes I would work part-time, and sometimes I would get some works in school that I would, let's say, magpapadrawing sila sa akin, and then I would alam mo yung maniningil ako ng 50 pesos for one
You're
for one
also
plate to do. At least meron akong
You have an entrepreneurial spirit like me.
Just to get by.
But Carol, just to break the story a little bit, because you mentioned about the history, because of something of a building's architecture, you can find a sense of history there. Two questions, but first answer the initial one. But doesn't architecture require a lot of mathematics and a lot of physics?
It does.
Trigonometry. How are you with the hard sciences? Did that come?
It was so hard for me, actually.
It was hard for you.
It was really hard. Yeah, the math part it was really hard. In fact, I was surprised I was good at it probably because of the passion. But I just we transferred from another country, I just realized that architecture, like in Australia, is purely art. It is purely art.
Dimension, which is
that's another dimension that I'm so surprised. In the Philippines, is art and science combined.
But here and abroad, it's not.
It's not. All you have to do is design, and the engineers will take care of it, regardless on how do you design it, regardless how complicated you designed it. You're just gonna have to give the rest of the problem to the engineers.
So this other second question of mine is in relation to that, no? Because you mentioned to me that obviously you had your bachelor's degree in the Philippines from Adamson, and then when you moved to New Zealand, because ladies and gentlemen, Carol is also a Kiwi, a Pinoy Kiwi. She is a citizen of New Zealand living in Australia just like me. So that's the reason why we've come to know each other. But you also studied in New Zealand. And then when you studied in New Zealand, it's a postgraduate diploma. What can you say about the difference between what you studied in the Philippines and the newer information that you gathered from studying in New Zealand? Tell us what that was like.
Well, it's all it's a big difference. I don't know, because of the before I study again, it's the experiences is very much applicable, and it wasn't hard for me because there's nothing about math. It's all about art. Regardless of what you take, it's all about design. It's purely design. So it gives me all the interest doing the design more.
Okay.
And with that year, the technology already arrived, like using all the computer softwares that could help me to produce the design accurately, efficiently, and in terms of structural strength as well. The computer will help you to make your design possible.
So you rely, even architects and designers like you rely on technology.
I did rely on technology. In fact, when I was studying in the Philippines, I was using that technology. My classmates are not using it.
Wow, you're quite advanced.
Because I'm always curious, and when things I discover something in the library, I would try to get it and teach myself. So I'm using that technology software already.
Yeah.
Although my classmates know that already, it's just that they're what you call this? They would tell me that I'm making daya.
Because you have a slight advantage to them. You have a slight advantage.
Yeah, because to them it's kind of like, in the Philippines, the competition in studying is there. But I would always say, this is the coming technology in the future that we have to use it.
Yeah, so
you
they
know.
have to keep up with technology.
Yes.
Okay.
So I did advancedly use that technology in doing my design works in school. At the same time, working part time. It helps me a lot because you know how hard it is to work part time and study at the same time.
Yeah.
So the technology helped me to get by with all the drawing assignments and all that needs to be submitted.
Mm-hmm.
So I use that technology
Okay.
on yeah
Okay.
on that time.
Yes. So my
So
question is,
when
when you use technology in the Philippines and in New Zealand, did you find the technology more advanced in New Zealand, or did the Philippines kind of catch up to the technology that you experienced in New Zealand? Is it too far of a gap, or is it almost near?
actually in the Philippines, the technology is already there. It depends
Okay.
on the people in the Philippines that they're gonna embrace it. You know,
Right. Okay.
it's already there. You cannot deny it. But some people will deny it. But it's already there. I mean, you could see the gadgets and all. They play. I mean, they play PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
Xbox. You
So
know,
maybe it's
the
the
technology is already.
students'
It's just that
capability to
people
use
are.
it. Yeah. So Carol, I have
Yeah,
another
it depends on
question.
the person. It depends.
Sure. Did you notice that there are
Yeah.
more women architects now than before, or is it still a male-dominated field until now?
Well, I think it's. I think it's already like it increases already, but still dominated by men
But
in
there are
terms
more
of.
women now.
Yes, there are more women now. There are more women now, definitely. Yeah.
Mm. That's good
Mm.
because before people are saying that access to education, there's already a gap between males and females, and then there are some areas or fields of interest that are more geared towards women, and some are geared towards men. But I want to
Mm.
shift my question a little bit. What is your design philosophy, or what is your aesthetic? Do you follow a certain kind of genre, if you can call it a genre in
Yeah.
design, or are you a
Mhm.
generalist by nature? Can you describe that a little bit to us?
It's always depends. There's two types of designer. They say one a zealot designer and one is um, I forgot the other one. I'm sorry, but anyway, um, I couldn't be a zealot one because in that industry you do purely art, but the client is doesn't you know how the client will like your design if you have only one type of design. I mean, you have different clients, and every client, every person who was asking for your design has different different aspect or different dream that they have. So in my practice, I will always go from what's going on with their mind.
Okay, so you go with what the clients are inclined to do,
Yes,
but
yes,
then you
because
will advise them as
designing
well.
is exactly, because designing is something that is designing a building or a house for them is something so personal.
So you
They
can
have this
feel so boxed
already.
in.
Yes, they have this already in mind. They just don't know how to draw it or how to make it in reality. We're
Mm.
here as a designer. We're here to help them
Mhm. You know,
and fulfill their dreams.
I really like it when you said that you should be working with your client rather than pull the client towards what you want,
Yeah,
because after all,
yes,
it's
yeah.
their dreams and their vision
It
that you're
is.
trying
It
to
is their
implement.
dreams.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
want to share to the audience, by the way, that Carol, aside from designing and doing interior designing and architectural work, she's also an entrepreneur on the side. She has property in the Philippines that is an Airbnb facility. So did you design your own Airbnb rental, or did you because you live overseas, you are here now,
Yes.
and then there's
Yeah.
construction and design happening in the Philippines. How did you make your vision a reality for that house?
Well, I did design it in a way that not too much, but it's just something to consider about the place because it's Philippines. I didn't put too much detail because I have this kind of idea that when somebody wants to occupy, I wanted to look fresh.
So like a timeless beauty.
Right. More on not too many details, not too many things, like too many frames, too many lightnings. And when you come inside, there's so many whites and fresh objects like natural woods and greens, indoor plants, and something that when you come inside, it's really fresh. That's the whole idea, and of course the budget and time did also help me to achieve it. Because if I'm gonna put it too many details, like in a hotel type of thing, so doing it will take me more time and more budget to do it. But you make it simple, you make it fresh, it's enough for people to
I
occupy.
think that's the trend now.
Yeah.
That like less is more.
Yes, that's true.
So yeah, but I really want to know, and I'm curious, whenever you see a house that is poorly designed based on your opinion, can you help it but comment, or do you don't go into that zone? Because
No,
for
I don't
example,
go into.
if you don't go into the zone, because I'm scared that if a doctor, like a cosmetics surgeon you meet, looks at you, I'm not sure whether they're thinking, oh, you need to have a Botox, oh, you need to have a tummy tuck. So is it the same as you? You don't care too much about the design? Are you blinded by that, or you tend to nitpick?
Well, depends. If I have a friend who's also an architect or interior design, and when I see their personal spaces, I would say something about it, because it's kind of like, syempre, you expect them to should be designing their own houses, regardless if they own it or rent it.
Yeah.
When a person, I would go to a friend of mine who's not a designer or architect but needed something, unless he or she will ask me, I'm gonna tell. But most of the time I don't.
Okay, that's good. So you're not too scary of
I'm
an
not too
architect.
scary, to show what they have, and most of the time I would see something new. I would say it's nice, or it's beautiful, or it's very good or amazing. I don't like, where did you get that color of sofa? No, it's their choice. That's their choice. That's their
No
personal
judgment.
choice. No
You're
judgment.
quite neutral. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I like about you, Carol. You're kind of like an ambassador. You're very diplomatic, and you know how to really make other people happy. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to tell the audience, and I hope you don't mind, that I really, really admire you. And the other reason why I invited you to guest in my show, aside from talking about this world of interior design that I don't know much about, is I know you have an advocacy because of a personal experience. And I want you to be the voice. I want my show to help you become the voice. And we are going to talk about a very important issue for women, and that is the big C. Okay? We know what the big C is. It's I think that's one of the what do you call that? One of the it's not really a disease. It's it's a sakit na
An
one of
ongoing
the,
problem.
it's an
Yeah,
ongoing
health problem.
problem worldwide, and we're not just
Yeah.
talking about people in the Philippines, people in the Netherlands, worldwide. So this big C is something that you're passionate about because of your personal story. So I would not want to talk about the medical details and things like that, because we can Google that, we can ask
Mhm.
people like you for their own stories. But what made you become a personal advocate of this issue, and why is it very important for you to share your experience with other women?
Well, it is very important for me because I experience it. Aside from that, it's something I have to tell with all the women that we have to take care of ourselves. It's that work and job, too much of work and job doesn't go with a good health. And we women, one thing I've noticed, syempre, I'm also a woman, but one thing I've noticed with us is that we try to perfect ourselves and things to the point that we tend to put ourselves in the last palagi na lang hinuhuli natin yung sarili natin.
So we take care of others, but we forget about ourselves in a way.
To ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But then
so are
we
you saying
realize
that you have been a victim of that? Have you been a victim of that, my friend? That
yes.
Because you were so busy with all this high pressure job that you have, that you forgot about your health. Yeah. In what way did you do that? Did you forget to sleep? Like, did you had a number of sleepless nights, or did you forget to eat, that you kind of starve yourself? Or what do you think was that thing that made you say na hinuli mo yung sarili mo? How did that happen for you?
Well, in terms of trying to get on the deadline, not getting enough sleep is just as as heavy as it is. So you parang when you're doing design, no one will tell you that's enough. Unless it is enough for you. But if you're not content, you still go on and go on, and then suddenly you realize it's already the next day.
Yeah.
So in terms of designing and architecture, I've learned how to be contented in my design. And then when I'm contented, that's a time I would give it to my client and say, this is it, this is enough.
Yeah.
But it seems like we women are like not contented in any small things. I just noticed, and also becoming a mother is also the same thing. We're not contented. How healthy are we preparing our food to our children? Or we're not contented how their whites we washed in the laundry is white enough.
Yeah.
Or
So my friend, my question is, where is this kind of syndrome coming from? Is this a result of our childhood? Is this in the DNA of women in general? Or is this self-imposed imperfection and trying to be perfect something that just happens as we grow old? What do you think is the reason behind this? Because cancer is not easy. Once you have it, there will be a longer period of time from managing the pain, managing the medication aspect of it. So when do you say that, okay, maybe my stress should not happen as much as it did before because of this new phase in my life? So right now, what would you think? Would you have come to the stage where you have to be contented now because you have to really focus on yourself? Or do you still think about your old syndromes prior to you having this condition?
No, I'm still working on it. After all the treatments that I had, hindi ko alam dito sa Australia, aanuhin ka pa pala ng clinical psychologist.
Oh, you also have sessions with the clinical psychologist?
Yes, because they wanted you to be better also here, because I think they believe that cancer comes from being worrying.
So it's your
stress.
changing the way your brain works and how you talk to yourself.
Yes, there and there are sessions also that practicing on how you're breathing, and things that you cannot control. They have to explain that to me.
Yeah.
No, if there's failure, then that's it. That's failure. But it doesn't matter. They would say that.
I remember our conversation.
Yeah,
I remember our conversation. You said that lucky are we who are here because they have a very good medical support system, and it's a holistic approach that holistic approach that they do for women who are in a similar situation as yourself. So you feel that there's a lot of support that will enable you and push you to really become better. You are encouraged to do that. But I'm not sure what the conditions are, for example, in the Philippines. If cancer patients like those women also receive the same amount of holistic care, or it's purely medical, when you just have to do chemo, you just have to do radiation, and that's it. What do you think? Are you aware of any similarities or differences in the way the treatments and the management are happening?
It's not purely medical. Cancer depends on you. If you wanna get cured, or you want to surpass the health problem, it always depends on you, from whatever disease the person, on how you're gonna carry it. No medical, no medicine, no treatment can save you unless you will accept it, and get the treatment and try to change your perception in life. That's how the way you do it. And you have to be ready, you have to be brave, and think of the positive side of it. The problem in the Philippines, even if you have this amount of money, even how much you can afford to get yourself treated, but the chaos that's going on there, the stress with families and all, it's not helping. It's not helping the patient. Unlike here, there's so many help you can get. Yes.
You're more relaxed. You know what?
There's so many help to get.
I really understand what you're saying, because my mom was also a cancer survivor. She had cervical or cervical cancer, but that was in her mid-40s. I really remember that because I was in my teens and she relied on me to help her out. So I know the mindset, how it really works. And I think that one of the messages that we would like to share is that not because this thing happened to you means it's really the end of the world, but it's something that you have to take on board. Like you said, you have to accept it, take it on board, and try to look at the other side of it and see how it could potentially save you from something more dangerous, because now you will focus on yourself. Carol, I'm really loving your perspective, and I know that you are a brave person, and I know you're a very strong woman. That's why I want to emphasize to our audience today that having a career is great, but loving yourself and really looking after yourself is even better, because
yes, it's true.
It's now more important than the career per se. And Carol, if you want, or if the audience wants to get in touch with you, are you happy for me to share your email or contact details to them just in case they need you for some design advice, and also for any questions they might have of your advocacy for women with cancer. And you can get in touch with me, and then I'll connect you to Carol. Carol, I think we have 3 minutes or 5 minutes to talk about this letter. As I've mentioned in my first podcast, I used to be a radio person in the Philippines, and I did receive a number of emails before because I needed I needed content for my radio dramas. So it's good that I've kept this email, so now I can resurrect some of them and we can talk about them, because the stories that I've been choosing are still relevant to this day. So if we're not really responding to this person, we may be responding to people who are in the same situation as the person in the letter. So I'll read you this very, very short letter, and I'll ask you for your opinion or advice in terms of how we can help her. So, dear Mimi, please call me Leia. I by the way, translated this letter because it's written in Filipino or Tagalog. I'm 30 years old from Laguna. I have dreams of going abroad, pero hindi ako nakatapos ng college degree. I have 5 years experience as an office admin. I want to shift careers here in the Philippines, but I can't due to financial reasons. I could not study anymore. I am also a single mother to a 2-year-old girl, and I can't just leave her with my parents if I want to go abroad. I am willing to be a housekeeper, a domestic helper, or a nanny abroad, but I am torn between my family here and my future. Can you please tell me what I need to do? Sincerely, Leia. So Leia is just like us. We were dreaming before of another life outside of the Philippines, and we are now on the other side. Maybe we can share some of our insights to Leia. So what do you think is a way that Leia could, or somebody like Leia right now who is in a similar situation, what can you advise this person?
Well, if she wanted to shift career, instead of studying in the Philippines, she might as well study abroad, and also bring her family with her. If she's a single mom,
Yes,
single mom, she has to bring her kid, because if she's studying as a student here internationally, and it's more faster than studying again in the Philippines.
Okay. So rather than start there, why not do it from here? So what we are not sure of is where she could. She didn't indicate where she wants to go. She just said she wants to go abroad. She wants to be a nanny, a housekeeper, or a domestic helper. Initially, I'm thinking that she wants to be in an Asian country, but we are more familiar with how student visas work in New Zealand and how student visas work here in Australia. So I think your suggestion is spot on. She can't just leave her daughter, but
exactly.
What I would advise her to do is do a little bit more research where she wants to go and what she wants to go. Yes.
I think it's more. It would help her a lot if she have a relatives from the certain country, and if there's a relative in that certain country, that's the place she needs to go. Let's say if she got a relative in Japan or in Canada, that's the places where, so that she will get a support from a relative.
That's right. Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's very difficult enough as it is to leave your home country to move to another country, but it would be easier, or it would help a lot if there are relatives in that place. So Leia, our advice to you is to do a little bit more research where you want to go. If you have relatives in one country, you can explore that further, and maybe also research on what are the requirements to be able to study there, and if you can bring your child with you as soon as possible. So the lesson probably from the letter is that there are always opportunities abroad. It's not because you dream you'll not act on it, but there are always some opportunities available,
and the governments are helping as well.
And
the governments are helping.
Yeah. What was your transition from Philippines to New Zealand straightforward, or was it difficult for you and your family moving out, migrating to New Zealand?
No, it wasn't difficult. It wasn't difficult. It because we took the skilled migrant category, so it wasn't difficult. Both of us had a good points in to get to get qualified.
Mm.
My husband is a food technologist. He's got a master's degree, and also I'm a graduate for architecture and experience in designing. So
It's considered
so
a skill.
the short list, we're into the short list of people that they need. They need more architects in New Zealand. They need more food technologies in New Zealand. So it's just that we qualified. Actually, we also qualified in Canada, but we choose New Zealand for myself.
It's the same with us.
Aside from
We're choosing between Canada and New Zealand, but New Zealand seems to be the better option at that time.
Yes.
At that time.
Yes.
So going back to the letter,
aside from the from the movie that my husband saw in the Philippines, the Lord of the Rings. That's the time he
yes, you're a
decided he
Lord
wants
of the
to go to
Rings
New
fan.
Zealand. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yes.
linking that to what Leia's situation is all about, that's the other thing. She needs to make sure that the requirements of the country that she wants to go to, she meets those requirements, just like what you said about the
She's
point.
just gonna have to meet.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Yeah.
Carol, is there any message that you would like to share with our audience tonight or today? I'm not even sure what day they are watching this because it's a podcast.
Yes.
You could be morning in the Philippines.
Is this a
and
live
evening in the
podcast?
US. No, we're recording it, but the show is every
Okay.
Monday. So I publish it every Monday. This is a weekly show. So it can be viewed by anyone at any given time. So any last words before we wrap up the show for today?
Well, with my message to everyone, especially moms and women and moms, don't be scared of the future. You have to take good care of yourselves, because I just realized my family, my child, and my husband. I just realized that they're okay. It's just that they need me. They need me to be okay. That's the only thing you do.
That's very lovely. Yeah, they need you to be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's you just realize. I thought they need some, like something
The
with their
super
future.
Carol.
Yeah, something for their future or something for them, but it's not. My son needs me, period. That's all. And we have to think of that as well. We know that we wanted their dreams to be fulfilled as well, but there's so much you can only do. We can only support them, but the more important thing to our loved ones is always be okay, and that's it.
Yeah.
No matter what, you have to be okay.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good message, and that also resonates with me, and that's a good reminder for me as well, that to enjoy what I'm doing and not to put a lot of pressure to myself, because maybe that's all that I ever have to be for my family as well.
Because our kids
lovely
only wants us to be okay. That's
yes.
That's the only thing our kids wants us to have. They don't need a new car. They don't need any material. Yeah.
That's right.
Because they want us to be with them for a very, very long time.
Okay, so may that be a lesson to all the moms and the women's out there.
Yes.
Thank you, Carol, for being here in my show. So to those who are watching us, if you have any stories or topics that you wish to feature, please reach out to me at mimi@dinosocial.com. That's my email. Again, Samutsari is a member of the Guerrilla Podcast. You can reach out via the Dino Social Facebook page or through my Twitter account or through my YouTube channel. And then, Carol, just in case your friends are tuning in other places, the Guerrilla Podcasts are also available by Apple Podcasts, Spotify, OneCast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Castro, and Castbox. There's so many
There's so
places
many.
where they can listen. So thank you very much again. So we'll wave goodbye now to our listeners, and
Thank
I
you.
hope you can come back and we'll talk about another topic.
Sure, why not?
Okay, bye everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.
If you find value in this episode, make sure you like and subscribe to be notified of new releases. If you have any questions or suggestions, please reach out to Guerrilla Podcast or send us an email at mimi@dinosocial.com. Spread the word and don't forget to tune in next time.